Hey there, Fletcher from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm going to be talking about this really cool kit from Gerber called the Around Camp Kit. This thing comes with a number of really cool pieces of gear that they make. So I'm going to show you what all comes in the box. I'm going to talk about how I use it, and I'm going to give you kind of my final thoughts on it. So if you're looking for a great gift or just something for yourself to pick up that's kind of all in one, gives you most of the tools that you would need to sort of cook around camp and get stuff done like chores and stuff, this may be a good option for you. So if you want to learn more about the Gerber Around Camp Kit, stay tuned.
Understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me.
All right, guys, so as I mentioned in the intro, today I'm talking about this Gerber all-in-one camp kit. And this thing is really cool because it comes with a ton of stuff and it kind of gives you value pricing. So it's about $100 for the entire kit, which includes this sort of cleaver style knife, a multi-tool, and then what they call the 4-piece complete, C-O-M-P-L-E-A-T, complete setup, which is great for, you know, freeze-dried meals, just any sort of cooking that you're going to do around camp. If you want to eat something at the end, this has everything that you need for that. So let's dive into each one of these components of this kit and sort of see what comes with it and if it makes sense to sort of add to your camping collection. All right, so let's start with the complete. Okay, what I like about this is that it all kind of fits together into one neat little package, but this is actually 4 pieces. So on the bottom here, you're going to notice that it has sort of an indentation, right? And what that does is it allows all these pieces to sort of clip in there. Now they kind of go in a certain order. What I've noticed is it's sort of like the spatula, sort of like freeze-dried meal clean out utensil, then the spoon, and then the fork, and then this little guy here. It's sort of like a bottle opener type deal, but then that fits in there. When that clicks in there, it actually locks it in place. So let's take this thing apart and I'll show you what all comes. So all you do is you slide this piece out here, the little bottom piece. When that comes out, then it all gets loose and it kind of comes apart. So let's start with this piece. So when we get really close here, you're gonna notice that there's like a really sharp serrated edge in here. What that's for is opening packages. So, you know, you get to camp, you've got something in a box with some tape on it. If you don't have a knife with you or something like that, you can grab this little thing, slide that little lip under the packaging, and then just rip right down it and tear that open. On top of that, you've got a can opener here, so you can, you know, pop open a can with that. On the other side here, you've got a bottle opener, so you can use that to open your bottles, your beers, your whatever you're drinking. And then this part down here is actually a functional vegetable peeler. So this is actually really sharp in here, but you would just slide this along your vegetables and you could peel a potato, peel, you know, a cucumber, whatever you're using, but you do get a little vegetable peeler built into that. So tons of stuff in this little teeny tiny thing. Now the kind of basic stuff that makes sense and is pretty straightforward is you get a fork and you get a spoon, right? What I will say is this is like a pretty functional fork. A lot of these sporks suck, right? If we're being honest, they just don't have long enough tines to sort of grab stuff. This is like an actual functional spork with fork tines on it and a big surface for scooping stuff. Your spoon, sort of the same idea. The material of this does seem to be sort of like a heavy duty aluminum. So you do want to be a little careful. I do feel like you could bend these if you were, you know, a little rough on them or they got stuck in something. So you just want to be a little bit careful. They are very, very thin, but that makes them really, really light. And because they're aluminum, they're not going to rust. You don't have to worry about that. They're also like coated in some sort of like an anodized sort of coating to protect them, but they look really nice and they function really well as a spoon and a fork. And then the last piece, which is sort of the part that holds it all together and makes it a complete tool, is this sort of spatula-esque sort of thing. Now you do have sort of a serrated edge here that you could use to cut very soft stuff, right? Like it's plastic, it's not going to cut through a steak, but you could use that to cut through softer things. And then it's got sort of a rubberized edge here that is real flexy. So if you are, you know, using this for its intended purpose, which is usually to sort of scrape out one of those, like a Mountain House meal or a Peak meal, something like that, a freeze-dried meal that you've cooked in a bag and then you're eating, this will do a really good job of scraping that edge and making sure you get all that food out. And again, the cool thing to me is just that this all goes down together. I've got a full spoon, a full fork separate, and then you've got all these extra tools with this little guy. Put that back in there, that clips in, becomes one solid unit again, holds together really well, does not come apart, which I like. So I keep all that with my other silverware. I've got a bunch of just junky silverware, but this is kind of my go-to. And but it's so small that it fits inside of the little bag that I use for all my silverware. All right, so moving on to what they call the tri-tip mini cleaver. The sheath that it comes with has this little tab on it, and you have to depress that tab to then pull the knife out. So it keeps it from accidentally coming out like on your belt or whatever. It does have a belt loop on it, so if you want to keep this on you, like when you're cooking around camp, it is kind of nice and handy to just have this on your side at all times, and if you need it, you got it. But I mean, look at this little guy. It's adorable. It's super, super sharp. So I use this for cutting up meat and stuff around camp, chicken, steak, that kind of thing. It's got a huge blade, so it makes chopping really, really easy. And the other thing that I like about it is then I don't have to use sort of my main knife that I keep on my hip all the time for cutting up meat and stuff, because I use this thing to cut everything, rope and just gross stuff, whereas this is dedicated to just being used when I'm cooking. So I like having this as a really solid, really small footprint little knife to have when I'm gonna do my cooking for the night. And then I can take this home, wash it, put it back in my kitchen stuff, and not have to worry about whether I'm contaminating food or cross-contaminating other things by getting chicken juices on my main knife and then using it elsewhere, right? So kind of a nice little dedicated knife to have for the purpose of cooking. You click it in there, solid as can be. Stays in there until you push that tab to pull it out. Like it. So now we get to the Multitool, which is a really cool, teeny tiny little thing. So for reference, here's my pointer finger, right? So it's basically about as long, a little bit longer than my pointer finger. So it's really, really small. This thing has just a ton of functionality built into it. So I'm going to slowly kind of walk you through all of it so you know exactly what you're getting with this thing. It does have this sort of flat piece here, which they call a hammering surface. It's pretty small, so you'd have to be pretty careful. But if you had to hammer a nail into something or you had to hammer a stake into the ground, you could hold this, and it is pretty easy to use to just hammer stuff in. Of course, you've got your typical sort of standard locking blade folding knife. So again, just a nice little knife to have for around camp if you need to do anything. It does have a locking mechanism, which you just depress that, and then that allows you to fold it back in. This basically turns it into a corkscrew. So if you're a wine person, you need to open wine, you've got your corkscrew and your little lever arm to use that. There is additional functionality on this thing where this is actually sharpened. So right there you can see that's kind of sharpened there. That they say is for cutting foil. Also down in here you do have a pretty nice little set of scissors. Basically this whole thing comes out and then you grab this little tab, push it down, and then it's got a little spring-loaded mechanism in there. So then you've got scissors. Then to store them back up, all you got to do, fold that back down, just like that. Fold the whole thing back into the body, and it's gone. Then the sort of last one that's in here, and I will say this one's a little bit tricky to get out. So just full transparency, it's a little, you kind of got to get your fingernail down in there and kind of pry it out, or even just use a little knife and pop it back out there, because this one's right in the middle. So once you get that out though, this thing is a can opener. So that was the Gerber Around Camp Kit. Again, this thing is really cool. Like for me, I like minimalist stuff. I don't want to have to carry tons and tons and tons of kitchen gear. I already kind of hate how much I have. This rigid box back here is all my kitchen stuff, and I got rid of a pretty fair amount of stuff to be replaced with the stuff from this kit. So I got rid of some bigger stuff, I got rid of some duplicative stuff, and I replaced it with that. But I like to have just the smallest possible stuff that I can that serves more than one purpose, so I don't have to take as much gear with me on a trip. So what are your thoughts? Post up in the comments down below. If you are a minimalist person, if you're not, if you have questions about this kit, I'm happy to answer them. In the description down below will be a link to the kit. It does run about $100. So from a pricing standpoint, you're getting that big old cleaver, you're getting the multi-tool, and you're getting the complete system. So the spoon, spork, fork, all that stuff, that eating meal kit as well. So again, a pretty good value for the money, and just nice to have a bunch of complementary pieces to sort of outfit yourself without having to go to 20 different companies and find stuff. Not to mention Gerber has a lifetime warranty on their stuff, so if you had any problems with it, if anything broke, or if you had any defects in it, you can reach out to them. They're a big company, they've been around for a while. It's not gonna be cheap stuff like you may see on Amazon. It's gonna be good quality stuff that's gonna last you for a long time. So I hope that was helpful for you. If it was, click that like button. If you're not already, make sure to click the subscribe button, click the bell to be notified when new videos drop. I do a couple videos every week, generally talking about gear stuff, talking about general overlanding and camping stuff, and then I'm a Nissan guy, so I talk about my new 2023 Frontier, and I have older trucks. I've had Xteras and Frontiers from the past as well. So if you're into any of that stuff, there's tons of content here for you. I've been doing this for a few years now, so love it if you would subscribe. Also in the description below is a link to my website where I've got camping and overlanding themed stickers and Velcro patches. So if you're into that stuff, check that out. And then last but not least, there is a link to my Patreon group where we've got a 24/7 Discord and we all kind of chat about our gear and rigs and that kind of thing. And then there's the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group. Totally free to join, almost 14,000 members when I recorded this. So, you know, we'd love to have you in that group as well. But again, thanks so much for watching. Post up your comments down below, and we'll see you next time.